If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And I understand that all the FOIA requests have gone out, so we're good there. Good morning. Just a quick house cleaning item. We haven't met for 3 months, unfortunately, for other circumstances, but I hope that we'll go ahead and continue to have a strong quorum for the rest of the year. Everything's marked on our calendars. Now, the one thing that's happened is this room will not be available after today for us. And I'm putting in a request that when it does get ready, we get new chairs. Because there's one of these chairs is a trick chair, and I got it last time. You have to just keep your balance. But we have secured the city of Beaufort's conference room through January. I don't know how long it'll take for this to be done, but we'll for right now, figure we're gonna schedule through January, and then at one of those meetings, whenever, if this is completed, we'll announce that and be able to move back. If we could, why don't we go around and let everybody introduce themselves? And you want to start here?
Oh, sure. My name's Robin Buchanan, and I'm just a citizen of Beaufort and is interested to hear what y'all are going to discuss today.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for being
Helen
here.
Spalding, same.
Good.
Van Willis, Town of Port Royal. Noah Grubbs, Town of Port Royal.
I guess David Bartholomew, County Council, District 2, William and Richard.
Hi, guys.
Kristen Forbes, Beaufort County.
Christopher Clements, I'm a planner with the City of Beaufort.
Cliff Reeves, City of Beaufort.
With the Beaufort County School District.
Ryan Krieger with the Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort.
Jason Fowler, South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs.
Caroline Furman, Director of Beaufort County Veterans Affairs.
Scott Marshall, City of Beaufort.
Mike McPhee, City of Beaufort.
Ed Pappas, Beaufort County Planning Commission.
Mike Tomey, City of Beaufort.
Wendy Zara, Port Royal Planning Commission.
York Club of Beaufort County.
Mitch Mitchell, City of Beaufort.
Alice Howard, Beaufort County.
Thank you very much. I will ask for an approval of the, believe it or not, November 22nd minutes.
Second, but I didn't get it.
I have a motion and a second. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your hand. And motion carries. Open it up for citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments? Nothing online? Thank you. Okay, for today we have kind of a short agenda, but what I'd like to do is, if we could, go through our new business presentations. And then if we could, I'd like to take a look at what the future agenda items are and see if there's some new agenda items that we'd like to try and add to that list for our next meeting. So with that, I'd like to introduce or ask Jason Fowler, who's the Military Affairs Coordinator for South Carolina, to give us his wonderful presentation.
I don't know about wonderful, but I'll give you a presentation. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Like Mr. Tomey said, my name is Jason Fowler with the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs. I work closely with military installations in the state on different quality of life and base support issues, and that's how I came to know Mary Ryan Krieger, who invited me here. So if you don't like the presentation, then it's her fault. Clear. Next slide.
Shifting.
I know.
Okay. So the briefing agenda, introduction, again, Jason, I'm a 25-year Army vet, retiree. I've been working with the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs for about 3 years. In between that time of retiring and working for the department, I was a contractor for the Army as well. So I already told you why we're here doing this brief, because Mary Ryan asked me to. I'm gonna go through a South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs overview. I promise you it'll be quick. It's kind of like our secretary, Todd McCaffrey, Major General retired. It's kind of like his Rotary Club type briefing that he's given. I know Dr. Furman's probably seen it. Some of you in the room may have seen it before, so I only took a snippet of it, so it'll go quickly. But it'll kind of give you a good idea of what we do overall as a department. And we are your State Department of Veterans Affairs. So, and then we'll go through the Military Enhancement Fund grant, and that is a grant that is managed by my division. And then we'll go over the Veteran Homelessness and Transition Grant, which is operated by our Operations Division, Miss Alexis Martin. And I can send you all some materials. I'm going to reference the last Military Economic Impact Study, and I can send you a copy of the card that has the quick stat line for all that. I apologize for not having it today. And Alexis's card if you have any questions, but her email is in this presentation. So next slide, please.
Delay.
That's okay. So here's the mission of our department, and that is the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs leads and enables a statewide coalition of partners with an interest in veterans to create and sustain an environment in which veterans can thrive as a valued and contributing members of the South Carolina community. We did an economic impact study back in 2022, commissioned through the Darla Moore School of Business, that found that we have almost 400,000 veterans in the state of South Carolina. The next one of those is due in 2026, of course, because we have to budget for it. Now that number is not concrete, of course. Anyone would tell you that works in the veteran business that a lot of veterans don't connect with the VA, so we don't count them right. Programs where they transition out of the active duty, sometimes they're lost in the system. So, but that's the most recent number that we have through that study. And we have found that thriving veterans are sound mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, and relationally, and that's what we're going for. Satisfied by the dignified manner in which they are treated by those who provide services, respected by their fellow citizens, and proud of their continuing contributions to the South Carolina community and the nation. And we help, as you see in the pillars of that building there, by assisting, advocating, informing, and integrating services. And we'll go through those. So next slide, Ms. Anderson. Assisting veterans and their families and obtaining the benefits to which they are entitled. Actually, Dr. Furman and the County Veteran Affairs Office does this a lot more than we do. We do have a few folks that help with actual benefit claims, but the majority of that falls on the County Veteran Affairs officers. And we're so thankful for all that they do. The objective here is to build and sustain administrative policies, procedures, and programs to assist veterans and their families in effectively and efficiently obtaining their entitled benefits. This area of the columns here, this belongs to our Veteran Services Division. We also have, as of July of 2024, run the state veteran nursing homes, and we have 5 of those. One in Anderson, Walterboro, Florence, Gaffney, and Sumter. We are soon to, and this was the General Assembly told Department of Mental Health to give us those, and we took that mission gladly because we're going to take care of veterans. So we now have oversight of those veteran homes, and we're about to take over the one in Columbia soon, and there are 2 more being built. And then we also run in the bottom, it's not a great picture, it didn't pixelate very well, but we run the State Veterans Cemetery, which is in Anderson, which is an amazing, beautiful property that they work real hard to keep up. So kind of the gist there is we take care of veterans from the time they step out of service all the way through their life cycles. Next slide, please. Advocate. We advocate for veterans, military installations, service members, and families. This is where my division comes in, the Military Affairs Division. We work closely with the non-military installations in South Carolina, to include the 3 that are located here in your county. We work to establish relationships with them, and the objective there, of course, is to sustain and enhance the military presence in South Carolina. We don't want to lose any of our installations, and while they're here, we want to make sure that they're treated fairly, that they feel welcome in the state of South Carolina. So when they leave here, they've had a great experience, and then maybe one day they want to come back and retire here. One of the things that we do is we have an annual governor's brief. I know that sounds a lot of words, but what we do is we bring the installation commanders together in Columbia from all those installations. They meet with the governor and they tell them what's going well and what they could use help with. And when I say what's going well, they love being here in South Carolina, or they don't like it so much, or could we work on this? Can we work on that? And those usually boil down to quality of life issues. So like education is a big one. It comes up every year, as well as childcare, but that's across the entire country. But we're very proud that we just got the initiative, the Military Childcare in Your Neighborhood Plus initiative in South Carolina. That's something I worked on, where they can receive, the soldiers and Marines and airmen can receive fee assistance for childcare as long as they're using a daycare facility that meets a certain standard in the state quality rating system. Anyway, that's not what this brief is about. We work on military spouse employment. We work on small things like the stoplight near MCAS. We help to get that left turn signal put in. So anything you can imagine. In Charleston, they have people going through the nuke school that kids are coming into the military now and they don't have driver's licenses. And then they get there and they can't get around. And they're like, hey, the state of South Carolina says they have to ride along with somebody for 6 months. Can we change that? Well, we got that changed to 30 days if they're 18 years old. So anyway, so that's just the kind of issues that we deal with. But this is one of the things that we do is the Military Enhancement Fund grant, which we'll go over in a moment. Next slide. Inform and educate the public, state, and local leaders and veterans on all matters pertaining to veterans. I guess this briefing can fall into there, but that is primarily the job of our public information team, which is a whopping staff of 3 people, but they do an amazing job. They do a lion's share. And they get a lot of good information out on our social media. Please follow along. And in the news. That's all I have on that slide, man. The next one is going to be integrate. We integrate the effects of all entities in the state that provide a service to veterans or their families. This falls under our operations division. This is where the transition and homelessness grant that I'll talk about falls into. We also have regional integration officers in 4 parts of the state. The Veterans Coalition falls in this. That's an organization that vets all the 501c that you see out there saying, hey, we want to help veterans. We vet them, bring them into the system. We have a combined arms training system where if a veteran needs services, they can go there and feel rest assured that somebody's going to contact them within 72 hours. We also have the Palmetto Pathfinder program, which is veterans helping veterans, veterans that get out and they get some training on the resources that we have available. So when other active duty people are transitioning and they're staying in South Carolina, they can connect and kind of have a mentor to go through the process, because the transition process is tough. And we also have the Governor's Veterans Summit. I talked about the Governor's Commander's Brief. The month before, we have the Governor's Veterans Summit, and it brings a lot of people together to talk about all the issues, all the things that are going on with vets. And in both of those 2 meetings, we specifically at that meeting, our department tells the governor, we give ourselves a grade on ourselves. And it's very public, it's an open forum, it's very transparent. And that's one thing I'm proud about with working for this department. Next slide. So that's that part. So I got you through the potatoes. Question?
Question. Could you elaborate on maybe some of the volunteer opportunities for veterans to work with veterans? Years ago, I went over to the Naval Hospital.
Yes.
And was on an information desk and was able to give information to people who were just being discharged or coming into the area.
Yes, sir.
Are there other types of programs that are around like that?
Yes, sir. And Dr. Furman might be able to speak to that a little bit better for the county area. I know she'll be able to speak to it better for the county area. But the one that we particularly invest into is the Palmetto Pathfinder one. but we're working with all these other organizations, so, yeah,
Jason, if I could add, the
Please.
Palmetto Pathfinder program is an outstanding program that connects veterans with their peers. So it's an outstanding volunteer opportunity for veterans or even non-veterans. Most of my staff are Pathfinders with that program. And the Combined Arms Coalition is a group of, so if you've got a veteran who has, say, wants to file a claim, but he also has behavioral health or fitness concerns, you've got a whole collection of nonprofits that you can tap into, and most of these programs are free. So the veteran pays nothing, the nonprofits take them in and they go kayaking, they go surfing, fishing. I mean, it's an outstanding program.
thank you, Dr. Yeah, and she brought it full circle with that, and that's something that I did mention. There are a lot of veterans that need some extra help, mental health services and things like that, but also in that Combined Arms is a ton of hobby interests. So if you have somebody that wants to learn how to garden, to kayak, to surf, like she said, fly fishing, you name it. So it is about getting that veteran thriving in all aspects of their life, changing that narrative that, veterans are, thriving, helpful members of society, not somebody that's on the street corner or something like that, So unfortunately that exists, so I'm sorry I had to say it. But yeah, but I'm sure there are so many opportunities for volunteerism.
I think they still do that actually at the Naval Hospital. I can check into that for you too.
So we just had our first patient advisory council meeting at the Naval Hospital with the administrative officer, Dr. Travis. This group is looking at ways that we can improve the services for our veterans in our CBOC. Our CBOC is the fourth deck of the Naval Hospital. One of the issues that came up was access to the base. A lot of veterans, unless they have an ID card, cannot get on the base. So one of the things that when we were brainstorming was to have volunteers work shifts to kind of escort them on so that they can get their VA ID card and then not have to go through that process again. So as we come up with volunteer opportunities, we will certainly disseminate that. In my office, unfortunately, we have a lot of requests for volunteers, but unless they're vetted through the VA because of PII and HIPAA, we can't really have them volunteer.
May I ask a question for the VA home in Baltimore? Could you expand a little bit on what are the, standards or requirements that a veteran would have to meet to take advantage of that service?
Sir, yes, that's all on our website. I can get that information to you, but it's all up front on forward facing.
I'll look on the website.
Sir, and I can contact you too. We help veterans get into the Victory House all the time.
Yeah, I'm not trying to push that off, sir.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I got you, General.
I thought you might have just handed on the top.
I'll send it to you, I
No,
promise.
that's all right. I'll check the website, or Caroline will send it to you.
Okay, let me.
Next slide.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say we could send it to Libby and she can send it out there. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send it. So now we're getting to the meat of the presentation, the reason I was truly supposed to come. Military Enhancement Fund grant, but as I've met some of you and heard your names, I know you already know about this because later on you'll see a slide of who's been the benefactor of this grant, and Beaufort is winning. That's what I say. It's not a competition, but there's a website background on this. This started as a $10 million award from the South Carolina General Assembly. Now it's a $2 million recurring amount, which is sometimes, some years offset with non-recurring funds. So the balance fluctuates, based on the projects that we receive, of course. And next slide. I'm sorry, this did not come out well. That's a lot, so I'm gonna read it to you. The South Carolina Department of Veteran Affairs administers the Military Enhancement Fund as directed in budget provisos with the state. Funds appropriated to the department for the Military Enhancement Fund are to be allocated to items including but not limited to land acquisition, recreational purposes, educational purposes, and facilities for military personnel. Eligible recipients are counties and municipalities with federal military installations. So those are the folks that can put in for it, are the counties and cities that surround military installations. That's it. It goes on to say federal military installations as defined by the South Carolina Code include Fort Jackson, Shaw Air Force Base, McEntire Joint National Guard Base, Joint Base Charleston, Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, Beaufort Naval Hospital, Marine Corps Recruit Depot Paris Island, Charleston Naval Weapons Station, and Fort Eisenhower. For the purposes of this program, U.S. Coast Guard installations in South Carolina are also considered federal military installations. And that refers to the Coast Guard base in Charleston that is growing. We went to a groundbreaking last year it's where the old Navy base was near Fletsey. So that's a growing, they're about to bring up the population numbers of Charleston so much. The eligibility criteria, you have to be in one of those counties, one of those jurisdictional boundaries: Richland County, Sumter, Charleston, Berkeley, Dorchester, Georgetown, Beaufort, Orangeburg, because of North Airfield, Aiken or Edgefield. And that's new as of last year because we sort of adopted Fort Eisenhower as a military installation due to their proximity to the state line. About 1/3 of their civilian folks work or live in South Carolina. Live in South Carolina. This is new to this cycle. The maximum grant amount is $2 million. That was not the case before this, so that's very important. Deadlines for proposals are accepted on 1 March and 1 September. Next slide, please. This is all on the website, so I'm not going to bore you to tears with everything that it says, but I will go through at the bottom. I'll go through it. The documents are, and some of y'all probably help prepare these. The documents need a cover letter on the letterhead of the county or municipal government, a signed letter by the local installation commander, an independent third-party estimate of the cost of the proposal prepared by a qualified entity, a copy of the anti-discrimination policy of the applying county or municipality, a copy of the current fiscal year organizational budget, the most recent operating fiscal or financial statement of the applicant. And the information that we need in those documents is the detailed information on how the proposal will enhance military value, installation resilience, or military family quality of life at the supported military installation or community. We need a timeline. We need a detailed budget for the proposal, specific objectives of goals that the proposal will achieve, specific metrics that will be used to determine whether each objective or goal is achieved, and a detailed account of any other funding sources you intend to apply for in conjunction with this grant. And that always helps. If somebody else is pitching in money, of course, I know you all work in planning or in some form of county or city government, understand the value of having additional monies coming in. And the name, email, and phone, I highlighted that in my little brief here because oftentimes when we have questions as the proposals are going forward, we need somebody to contact. That sounds silly, but if we can't call you and ask you questions before it goes before the board, so to speak, then we have problems. Next slide, please. Evaluation criteria. The grant proposals will be evaluated on 1, its effect to mission readiness, 2, its effect on military quality of life, 3, its effect on the surrounding community, and 4, its timeliness, and 5, the degree to which the costs of the projects are shared with other funding sources. And the score sheet is available. The website's right there, so you can check out the rubric or the score sheet, if you will, that the Military Base Task Force uses. So what happens is, in layman's terms, we receive all these grant proposals by the 1st of March because we just received them. We'll go through them, check for legality, feasibility, all that stuff. We'll do an initial screen in my division with our general counsel and with our government affairs, our director of government affairs. After that, we'll send them forward to the Military Base Task Force Executive Committee, who will meet, convene, and score these different proposals. From there, they'll go to the secretary, who will be briefed on them, and he has final authority. So, and it doesn't have to be he doesn't have to lay out the full amount. So if you ask for 2 million, and right now we can help you with 500,000 to do a study, or for some, you know, we can help achieve some part of your goal, then that's at his prerogative. So the next paragraph, it says final decision authority for awarding grants under this program rests with the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. If a grant is not awarded in full, the department may request an updated budget. And then there's the part where you sign and all that good stuff. And the bottom part, it just tells you it either goes to my director, Ms. Sandy Claypool, who is the absolute guru on this. She's been here since its inception. I was not far behind, but it either goes to her or me in case in the event she's traveling or somewhere else, then I step in. Thank you. This is as of October 2024. Like I said, we're in the current cycle. Unfortunately, I couldn't be here and give you this brief before March 1st, so you could have maybe had it. But you'll see in Richland County, Centennial Park is at Fort Jackson. It's a beautiful area that they're beautifying for when soldiers and their families, you know, Fort Jackson sees, you know, a ton, just like Parris Island. So it's an area of beautification. It's an area of memorialization. It's an area that they're prepping. So firefighter temporary housing, that was for McIntyre Air National Guard Station. We actually need to take this off. Here's a funny story. That grant got approved because their firehouse was in disrepair. The firefighters didn't have anywhere to sleep, so they wanted temporary housing. They went through the bidding process with Richland County trying to find somebody to come bring this housing in for these firefighters. And by the time it was said and done, they had the new firehouse ready. So Richland County returned those funds to us. I actually got to go pick up the check one day. It was pretty fun. I went to take a baseball bat and, you know, but anyway, so that actually the slide needs to be updated. Sorry. Sumter, we've done a Shaw encroachment purchase off the airstrip. We helped with the Camden Burial Project, the electric substation, and the barn revitalization, the Welcome Center. In Charleston, the Short Stay Recreation Center, salvage and marine firefighting study. This was quite interesting. After the ship down in Jacksonville, Florida, how it caught on fire and caused a huge delay in that port. Well, they did a study, and if the Port of Charleston had to shut down, they don't have the resources, they don't have the materials, they don't have the training, they don't have any of the stuff that they need to respond properly to a fire in the Charleston Harbor. And that if it was shut down, it would cost gazillions of dollars a minute. So we helped them with a study that's complete, and now we're helping them build a firefighting facility for shipboard fire training. So that's pretty cool. And also in there is the Red Bank Road study. And then Beaufort, we helped with that Beaufort Naval Hospital study, the Laurel Bay Pathway Project, where I saw General Mitchell at. When we opened that was nice. The Living Shoreline, the Laurel Bay Wastewater, and the Port Royal Wastewater Project.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Real quick, so if I understand, so the most that you can ask for is $2 million
As of this cycle.
as of this cycle, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha, so I was just, when you see some of these projects
Yeah.
over that, is that like they ask for 2 million
No,
this year, and then the next
year.
year another 2, and then,
No, this is all said and done.
okay,
So, yeah, so at the beginning, like, we did this and we started doing these projects. And when the commanders came to the governor's commander's brief, they were like, thank you for this, thank you for that. And we had the Speaker of the House there, President of the Senate, and they heard what the commanders were saying, how this was affecting their communities. So they've been recontributing those non-recurring funds. That's how we got up to that amount.
okay,
But now that it's dwindled down some,
gotcha,
we have to like put it, we don't, secretary, so
I gotcha.
in our department, we get around that.
Okay,
We
I
got,
was just understanding, yeah, because some of them are, of course, over $2 million. So
Oh, yes,
I wondered
sir.
if that was
Yes,
like, they did it, they asked for multiple grants, or
No, sir.
there were different times where that number was okay.
no, sir. There was a different time
I
when,
gotcha, okay.
ask away,
Gotcha, okay.
when people would call us, we'd say, just put in for it, and let's,
Okay.
they get ranked and graded by the Military Base Task Force. And
Okay, thank you.
Does the project have to be complete, or can you do like apply for half, and like if you need now, if you needed 4 million, could you apply both cycles or and break up, like do like kind of longer term funding planning? Okay, cool. Just wondering.
You weren't supposed to ask any questions.
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I would structure it in a way that, you know, this is phase one of this project.
Right.
So I would be transparent. That way we can understand what you're trying to do
Yeah.
and figure out how best to work
Absolutely.
with the project to make it happen. Because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
We want to make, you know, strong projects happen for the benefit the communities of South Carolina that surround these mills. Because we know that, you know, it's a lot. You got a lot of folks coming through your area, trouncing through it. Some are great stewards of the counties and cities, and some are not. And so, yeah, we definitely want to contribute to the communities. Okay, that's all for that. Okay, now, I am not the subject matter expert on this, but I do sit on this board, so I am a semi-subject matter expert. Alexis Martin in our operations department, she's one of the, I'm gonna get you her card. She runs this. Next slide. And the background on this is this grant was established in October 16, 2023 to assist homelessness and veterans in imminent risk of being homeless with resources needed to obtain and maintain permanent housing. The Veteran Homelessness and Transition Grant Program is funded through appropriations from the South Carolina General Assembly and managed by the South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs. The manual that it references is online on our website. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's where all of our stuff is. We try to stay up front. And back to the Military Enhancement Fund and with this grant, we ask for quarterly reporting. Those reports are placed on our website. So if you wanted to look at any of the projects that you saw whatsoever, all that information is up front. So, mission of the grant's mission is to support organizations in meeting community defined needs by providing funding to nonprofits and governmental entities. These organizations should focus on providing housing assistance, rental or utilities assistance, transitional housing for veterans, participating in substance abuse programs, and underemployment programs for eligible South Carolina veterans statewide. Next slide. Purpose of the grant, in the middle you'll see housing assistance, utility or rental assistance, transitional housing while participating in a substance abuse treatment program, and employment. I know this is kind of like saying it again, but just want to make sure everybody understands what the grant's intended for. The minimum grant in this case is $50,000 and the maximum grant is $250,000 per grant cycle. So this is a 1-year grant cycle as opposed to us and doing the Military Enhancement Fund. We do it twice a year. This one, for now, Alexis is doing it once a year. So when she received the first $10 million, we had to figure out, were we going to spend it all at one time on different projects, or were we going to grade it out over time? They went through a huge decision-making process. This is what we came up with. And the veteran eligibility is under Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations, defining a veteran as a person who has served in active duty military, naval, or air services and who is discharged or released under conditions other than dishonorable. So that's the people. We want to help the organizations that are helping those folks. Next slide.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund, and Wendy might have been thinking along the same lines I was, but as a nonprofit, could they apply for grants to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because they help people, both rental and permanent housing. They're an umbrella organization for that.
And repair.
And repairs.
Beaufort Jasper.
Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund. Wendy's on their board. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's you'll see the list of benefactors so far. Does that make benefactors? That might not be. The people that have received the grant so far, you'll see that in a moment. And you'll see the kind of organization. But yes, absolutely. If you're, it'll talk about the criteria. The goals: reduce veteran homelessness, of course, provide sustainable housing solutions, enhance access to support services, and promote long-term stability. Next slide. It's the slide I was just referencing. That's Howard. On the left, you'll see last year was the first year that we went through this process, and 13 different folks received assistance. Not all 13 got $250,000. Some asked for less. Some asked for the whole amount. I didn't create the slide deck, or I would have put the amounts up there, but I'm sure it's on our website. But
Doesn't the Austin Wilkes, that they help people with drug?
Homelessness,
Yeah.
yeah, Austin
yeah,
Wilkes.
this is, yeah.
Drug and alcohol.
And so hopefully this briefing will hope, like, that's awesome. I'm gonna go back and tell Alexis to be on the lookout next year for a grant request from you guys. Because whereas on the other chart, y'all, Beaufort knows all about military enhancement fund grant. Down here, you can see we don't. Last year was the first year though, so and this information, we're doing our best to get it out. But
So Jason, I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
So, like our DAV, they're not a 501c3, they're a 501 something, but they also provide assistance to like home repairs, utility payments. As a BSO, could they apply for one of these grants?
They might be able to. I might have to default to Alexis on that one if I can't find it in the criteria.
Or like the Semper Fi Fund is another organization that helps folks with rent payments, utility payments.
Nonprofit applicants recognized by the IRS as 501c3 or 19.
Okay.
Or tax exempt organization. Is DAV a tax exempt?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so yes. Yes, ma'am. The last thing on this slide, we also divvy this one out in installments. So there's like an installment calendar. The last one's going out in April for last year's recipients. So Alexis is very hands-on. She goes out and makes sure that the folks are doing what they're supposed to with the money. And I'm not talking about like an inspection or anything like that, but she goes around the state and has visited all these folks to make sure that we're doing good things and being good stewards of the taxpayers' money. Next slide.
Is that a region that you have that full section there? Is that based on a particular region there, or?
Oh, you're talking about these lines?
Yeah.
So that's I don't know why they're on there, but that's a internal departmental.
By your organization?
Yes, sir. So when I talked earlier about us having regional integration officers, we have one in the upstate, which this is what we have to consider it, the upstate for, this is just what we consider it. The Midlands, the PD, and the Low Country.
Who is the contact person for the Low Country there?
Right now, we're hiring somebody.
Oh, so that's why we're missing out then. Just want to know why.
And the last one was from Charleston, so that might be.
It's getting closer.
So yeah.
There is a new Rio on board. He's gonna come by Beaufort on the 9th. I'll be in DC, but I will link up with him, but he replaced Gene Brooks as our Rio.
Yeah, she went back to Trident. But yeah, so you do have a representative. I haven't met the new Rio yet. So. But that's just our department's goofy. Goals and objectives. We already went through the goals. That's duplicate info. Sorry. This is a new presentation. This is the first time out, so y'all are the first ones.
Doing great.
Thanks, sir.
Doing great.
I'm almost there. To get out of y'all's hair. The objectives, of course, are there. We've discussed all this, so I'd like to skip to the next slide that talks about the criteria. For the purpose of this grant, applicants must meet the requirements listed below and submit an application by the due date for award consideration. Grant applications will be accepted only via electronic submission, not to exceed 12 pages. Only one application per applicant will be accepted. And website again that has all of this material. And the eligibility, nonprofit applicants registered and in good standing with the Division of Public Charities with the Secretary of State for a minimum of 5 years. Nonprofit applicants recognized by the IRS as 501c3. Or 19, tax exempt organization must provide IRS designation or affirmation letter. Faith-based organizations are eligible on the same basis as other nonprofit. Public or nonprofit private entity as defined by 38 Code of Federal Regulations 7910. These are important. Physically located and operating in South Carolina. Member of the South Carolina Veteran Coalition. So if your organization, for instance, is not, that's an easy process as long as they're not a nefarious organization. So, and the RIO would help with that process. Must demonstrate the technical and administrative abilities. So, you know, the more information you give us about your staff or, you know, the dedication that you do to your mission, the better. Sufficient eligibility information to evaluate. Must maintain their status during the entire award cycle. If they don't, we'll stop payment on that. And applicants and grantees must allow state and federal laws and must follow all state and federal laws and be free of tax liabilities. Next slide. In the application process, program detail narrative, budget worksheet. I have that highlighted on mine because I was on the board. And if folks send in a budget, there is a sample budget worksheet, but if you send in one that says we need copy paper and pens and pen, you all probably sat on boards and things of that nature. Like, if you're just trying to get stuff for your business, we don't want to do that. You know, we want to help. We want to help veterans that are going through this homelessness and transition. Organization summary or organization chart, anti-discrimination policy, copy of your articles of incorporation and bylaws if a nonprofit, and you know, by signing it, you're agreeing to the terms if awarded. This goes to a panel of experts review applications based on impact, feasibility, and alignment with program areas, and make award recommendations to the Secretary. Again, the Secretary has final say on this. Not trying to make him just sound out like he takes all of our advice, really. Successful applicants will be notified by email to accept the award. The grantee must return and or agree to the following: the terms and requirements, the grant award agreement, the approved grant application and all terms submitted by the grant applicant to SCDVA, and the response to the notice of grant award, and the grantee shall designate in writing individuals to serve as points of contact. The grantee will notify the SCDVA within 10 days if that POC changes. So that, and then the next slide says questions. So I am open to any questions. Yes, sir.
So if you're awarded either of those grants, does it preclude you from a time frame that you can reapply?
No, sir.
Okay, and if you are awarded, is that taken into consideration in your ranking if you reapply? Is it looked at like, well, they got this last year, is that considered at all?
I'm gonna say no, sir.
Okay, all right.
Because especially with the Military Enhancement Fund, and I think the reason, so that was Military Enhancement Fund, we've had some repeat people, counties, cities that are taking advantage of it. That's the way that, you know, we kind of look at it, you know, if it's out there, come get it, you know.
That's just good to know, because there's some grants that we apply for, and once you get it, then you can only do it like, wait 3 years before you, so there's ones like that, so I was just wondering.
No, just being completely transparent. We just had the deadline for the Military Enhancement Fund. There was nothing from Beaufort County, and I was like, what?
Okay.
You know, like that humor, I guess.
No.
But no, usually we've had a lot of applicants, you know, and on the transition and homelessness grant, you know, don't have the data yet. So like we're receiving those grants right now. I think the deadline was March 15th. So we'll see if some of the same people put in, but it's going to be based on merit. And obviously, if they did really well with the money, since Alexis is so hands-on with checking them out, I'm sure she'll be like, have no problem, you know. Yes, sir.
One of the criteria in there was to be free, the applicant and grantees be free of tax liabilities.
Yes, sir.
can you explain what that means? So I mean, let's say for the Beaufort Housing Trust Fund, if they're managing some houses that have a mortgage on them, I'm assuming that would be a tax liability. Would that exclude them from applying or receiving?
I wouldn't think so, as long as you're upfront about it, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah, I was just confused by that language, want to make sure.
No, this is very helpful for me, sir, because like I said, this is the first time we've stepped out, and I asked Alexis if, she just had another engagement, you know, or she probably wouldn't have been here with me, and she probably would specify for
No,
you.
it's all good, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the faith-based organizations.
Yes, sir.
They're eligible, but they don't have to be a 501c organization, right?
Correct.
Good, okay. As long as they have the bylaws.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
If that's it, thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry if I took too much of your time.
No, thank you very much.
And Carolyn Furman would like to speak for a second still.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Put your seat back. Anytime to talk about veterans is a good day. So for my veterans in the room, thank you for your service. I am the Director of Veterans Affairs. Just to set the landscape for Beaufort County, there's about 24,000 veterans in Beaufort County. We have about 10,000 active duty, and each year about 1,100 service members transition from the bases to the civilian sector. And why that's important to me is I want to retain as many of those young men and women as possible to stay here, because we're missing that sweet spot at 25 to 45 age group. So I've been working a lot with the employment agencies and on the basis to try to find good jobs to keep them around. All right, so I have a unique relationship in Beaufort County. I am AdCon, or administrative control to the county. I'm a county employee. I work for Audra Antonacci, my assistant county administrator, but I'm operationally controlled by the legislative delegation. I was appointed by the governor through the secretary of South Carolina Department of Veterans Affairs. So it's a kind of a unique command relationship, but it's working. So the key ingredient to my position is partnerships. Partnerships are critical to what we do. And as Jason said, we are a strong partner with SCDVA, with the VARA, which is the VA Regional Office up in Columbia, Ralph H. Johnson, which, by the way, is the #1 healthcare facility in the state and the 9th in the country for patient satisfaction. So we've got a great asset here in the Low Country. All the local PSOs, I've got the rep from HUD-VASH, which is the homeless VA person that works out of my office. I've got someone from Ralph H. Johnson that comes once a month to help enroll veterans into healthcare. And we have partnered with the League of Volunteers of the Low Country. They do quarterly free wills and powers of attorney at our clinics. So, as with the nation, 74% of the veterans in our country are untethered to the VA. So what does that mean? They've never filed a claim. And I think a lot of that has to do with our Korean and Vietnam War veterans. We kind of didn't treat them well, and the VA was a different organization back then. We weren't providing really healthcare. So a lot of them were drafted, they did their time, they went home. Today, we've got such an incredible healthcare system, and it's really the whole body, the whole man concept when it comes to VA. So they're taking care of a lot of things: behavioral health, financial, education, home loans, everything. So, but with that service provided, the 74% is true in South Carolina. So when I became the director almost 2 years ago, that was my sweet spot. I wanted to find out, who these folks were and how can we get them in and get them the benefits that they've earned. Not that what they deserve, because what they deserve is more than what they're getting. So with that said, as of last June, the director of VA told me I had reduced our population from 74% to 67%. So hopefully this next June I'll get some better news. So economic impact. For Beaufort County, our veterans bring in $209 million a year in medical benefits, compensation, and education benefits. $209 million a year. That's incredible. Last year, my team brought in 3.4 million to add to that 209 million. So what does that mean? So if someone has medical benefits, if they have compensation, if they have education, if they have home loans, they are contributing instead of consuming. They are not taxing our social service programs, right? They're a full up round, or as the secretary likes to say, they're thriving. And that's my focus, is try to get every veteran to where they're thriving. Because veterans have proven three things. They're disciplined, they can be trained, and they're good team players. They work great on teams. So they're great employees, they're great neighbors, they're great, they're good for our community. Okay, so let's see. Since since I was appointed, I stood up the Beaufort County Veterans Council. It started with 8 separate VSOs. It's now grown to over 100. We get together quarterly, we talk about what each organization is doing and how we can share that information to help our veterans. Because we all have the same target population, right? Veterans, their families, their survivors, their children. Let's see, I've also rolled out several outreach programs. One is the end-of-life planning seminar because of our aged population. Every quarter I give 4 courses, and they're maxed out each time. And the concept behind it was, we plan for everything, right? We plan for college, we plan for children. We don't plan for the end of our life. So a lot of times, and I was noticing a lot of surviving spouses were coming in saying, hey, my veteran just passed away. I don't know what to do. What can the VA do for me? They didn't know what a DD-214 was. They didn't know. So, if we can educate them and help them, they leave the seminar with a binder with all of their information that they can add to it. So when the time comes, and we've worked with all the funeral homes to where it's really kind of a seamless, less painful process for them to try to take care of all the, not only the burial, but also the financial and social effects of passing. I've also created a VA 101 course. I mentioned the free wills and powers of attorney. And we've done a couple of claims clinics where we partnered with the Columbia office VA, where we have knocked out like 50 veterans in one setting. The last thing is I've taught a class with Ollie, the University of South Carolina Beaufort campus, on Veterans Affairs 101. So in the last year, this past year, we've touched over 2,000 veterans. And that's not counting the ones that come into my office to do claims. It's just the outreach piece. All right, so we coordinate very closely with our bases. It's taken me 2 years, but we're finally on the basis to do BDD claims. BDD is benefits delivered before discharge. The VA will expedite a service member's claim if they're between 90 and 100 days from their EAS. So if we can get them and file their claim before they take their uniform off, they know what their compensation is going to be. They know what benefits they're getting. How much better is it to transition and it's a major life event. You're going from having a paycheck to looking for a paycheck. If you know you've got this safety net of, say, $4,000 a month tax-free, that helps ease the transition. Furthermore, I think that it impacts future recruiting. If we take care of Marines and sailors and soldiers today, and as they're going through that transition and they feel like they haven't been kicked to the curb, when they go home, they're going to tell their nephews, their family members, yeah, the Air Force was great. The Marine Corps was great. So it helps recruiting. And really, it's our ethos of taking care of our own, right? All right, so legislative, I work closely with Senator Graham, Scott, and then Representative Mace's office on all the congressional inquiries for our veterans, but also really putting out some great legislation on Capitol Hill. I've done 6 fly-ins to Capitol Hill to to talk to our legislators, as well as North Carolina, Florida, and Georgia on passing things like the PACT Act, the Major Register Act. Excuse me. We're working on some. It's RRTP, but it's a residential rehabilitation center for some of our veterans struggling from PTSD. And of course, if you have severe cases of PTSD, you self-medicate with alcohol or drugs. So now you've got two problems. Currently, the VA will only see you for one. This bill is gonna force them to bring them in as an inpatient and take care of them. Okay, so we opened an office in Bluffton last October. So I've got an office in Beaufort, I've got one in October, but we also do windows. We go out to Hilton Head, we go to Sun City, we go to Lebico, we go to St. Helena. We will meet the veteran where they are. I am responsible for the Veterans Day Parade. And as of about a month and a half ago, the Vietnam War Veterans Day Ceremony, which is tomorrow, 10:00. I'd love to see you all there. We have a debt of gratitude to these veterans. So I'm honored to do it. On the horizon, I am planning a financial literacy course. I've seen a lot of young veterans who, after they get out of the military, nobody's taught them simple, basic, foundational literacy skills. So I want to be able to provide that type of training. I also want to get all the social workers for the nursing homes, assisted living together so that we can give them the straight scoop on VA benefits. I get so many people coming in saying, my veteran needs to go to a nursing home. I'm told that the VA will pay for it. And the VA will pay for some of it if they're qualified. But we just need to get this, I'm a big proponent on it, educating folks. I talked to you about the Patient Advisory Council, which I'm very excited about with Ralph H. Johnson. And the last thing is, and this is near and dear to my heart, the Women Veterans Study. So Wounded Warrior Project and DAV did an exhaustive study separately on women veterans. Women veterans are the fastest growing cohort in the VA. Women veterans tend to be more educated. They tend to not use medical facilities. Their suicide rates are increasing and they're becoming more lethal, which was typically a male characteristic. So why is this happening? And how can we study these things so that we can stave off some potential outbreaks here in the Low Country? Because as our Vietnam and Korean War veterans start to attrite, the number of veterans are reducing. When we've also reduced the end strength in some, over time in our military. So the veteran population is shrinking, except for South Carolina. We are anticipating a 12% increase in the next 10 years of veterans coming to Beaufort County. And the reason why that is because we are a very veteran-friendly state. It's a great place to live, and it's why everyone else is coming here, right? So, barring any questions, that was my quick, not so quick, update of Beaufort County Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yes, sir.
I've taken advantage of the end-of-life seminar. I'll tell you what, there's so much we don't know. I've got to go through another one just to figure out some of the other pieces. It's really, really important.
Yeah, I've personally interacted with Caroline and her staff for myself and on behalf of other veterans, and just thank you for all you're doing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, Carolyn, I was just to say thank you for everything that you're doing.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So our councilman, he volunteers to provide free wills to some of our most deserving veterans.
Okay, so with that, I know that we want to try and wrap it up in an hour.
Oops.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anyone in this room knows the answer. A few months ago, they published 3 sites for the VA clinic, environmental assessment. Is there any update about that? Does anyone know anything?
The only
that
thing
they can
I've
talk
heard is
about?
don't look forward to anything in the near future at all, but I don't know.
So it's interesting, one of the ladies who is responsible for facilities and infrastructure, she travels across the nation or the region to inspect VA CBOCs and clinics. She was looking for a space because, they're all called back to work and she didn't want to go from Sea Pines to the Naval Hospital. So she asked if she could use space in my Bluffton office. And she pretty much said that, yes, there were plans, but everything's kind of in flux right now with the federal government, that things are kind of on hold right now. So that's why, you know, they're beefing up the fourth deck of the Naval Hospital, the VA CBOC, which, you know, is very interesting because as we, you know, the DHA, the VA, dependents, retirees, veterans are using our local doctors, well, so is Beaufort Memorial, and so is, you know, the civilian sector. So it's becoming a situation where there's not going to be enough doctors with all these, you know, with community care from VA and for TRICARE. They're consulting a lot of folks out into the economy, and there's just not enough providers. So some of us may need to travel to Savannah, Charleston, Columbia, you know, for certain healthcare. So it's so to
Stand by, in other words.
answer your question, right, until things kind of settle, it's still slated where there are still 3 locations, but we don't know, but I'll see the Director Isaac up at Ralph H. Johnson next month, and I'll be sure to ask him about that as well. Again.
And the information I got was that once they do make a determination, it'll be another 5 years
Yeah, I would expect.
by the time they get through everything. I
Construction.
don't know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah, that's a long time.
I can add that the VA clinic, our VA clinic, hopeful VA clinic, it was in a list of other VA clinics that are under review for future builds, and it went through a business meeting for a subcommittee at the federal level on March 12th. So there is a little bit of movement, but Caroline's absolutely right. Once federal government gets all the people in place, hopefully it'll move forward to a committee where one of our senators can make some.
Thank you.
Yeah, I use the system a lot. So, okay, so I wanted to, before we get out of here, we talked about the location for the next meeting, and then the agenda items for the next meeting. Does anybody have anything that they would like to move forward on this for discussion?
I just have one maybe to add.
To add, sure.
I know you're part of the Northern Beaufort County Transit Study that
Yes,
LAT's
I am.
initiated.
Yes.
Love to hear about that, where they're going.
It won't be finished probably until June or July. So
And give us kind of an update or status of what
I
they're
missed the
doing.
last meeting.
that was what, I have a meeting on Friday week
Oh.
with LATS. And so I can send out an update on what we know from there. But the last I talked to Stephanie, it would probably not be done until June or July.
Mr. Tomey, we tentatively have the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust coming back in March to give us an update
Oh,
on
okay.
their, because they've given out grants and it might be a good time to, so we got them at minimum.
Is that for the repairs?
Yeah, all their.
It's for rental, homeowners and repairs.
Yeah,
Okay,
if that's okay.
that'd be great.
Yeah, okay.
And I will, in terms of the North Regional Transit, some of us at this table participated in doing, actually it was the Ladies Island Village Center, but what came out of that also was a trolley system proposal that I had put together, and that was actually given here at a past meeting. The North Regional is actually taking that and digitizing it now to take a look at it for implementation. So it might be sometime in the near future I could give a presentation on that as a quick analysis. I think it helps both with our low income population as well as tourism, the city tourism and everything else. I've gotten real positive reactions to all of those things. One other thing that I would like to try and do is Jesse White put together an analysis of Beaufort in our area and showed on a map that we've got over 3,700 new apartments coming online that are not here yet, which is going to have a tremendous impact on our transportation systems, all of our roadways. I don't know, and that's something that I'd like to see LATS take up too, on the North Regional side. What are the capacities of our current road systems? And what I would like to do is take this that we have of the Beaufort city area, expand that both to the county as well as the city or town, and have all of us collectively put all of the locations for all of our potential new builds and new builds coming online, so that whenever we have something come to the table and they have to do a TIA for a major development, that we have the comprehensive knowledge of everything that's going on in the area, because we're just going to have tremendous impact now. So I would like to try and promote that, and I'll get together with each to try and do that.
The group, there is a group that prepared some information for Soloco. I can send that to Libby, the slide set, and it identifies some of that, but it's 2 counties, it's both counties. But you're right, thinking along the same line they were, so we can send that link to everyone.
And I think that's great. What I'd like to do is have this continuously updated on a monthly or at least quarterly basis, so that we can use that at each of our planning commissions, so that we have a better understanding of what we're approving.
It's frightening when you see it.
It is.
The 2 counties.
It is.
And Mary Ryan was on that subcommittee.
Alice, are you talking about each TIA requiring information on what else is?
Well, that wasn't included, but it shows what's been permitted by right for both counties, yeah.
Because the TIAs only show the effect of just one development, not.
So it's both northern Beaufort as well as southern?
Yeah, we'll send the link for the slide set, and they're gonna report again at the next Soloco meeting, go more.
So would it be advantageous for them to report here?
Yeah, that'd be a
Oh, yeah, I think that would be good. And maybe
away for some time.
Maybe
next meeting, okay.
Over the next month, I would like to try and get together with each of the entities also for a more local impact analysis, and get a decision as to who wants to keep that information. The county has the best GIS system to try. I don't think it'd be a huge effort to get that input from the town, the city, and the county together on a quarterly basis, just to add.
That's true.
So if we can make some decisions about where to go with
So
that.
that subcommittee can, we'll ask them to come at the next meeting that presented at Soloco.
That would be great.
And they can present what they plan to present at Soloco next month too.
And maybe I'll get together with you with the information that I have too.
Okay, and I'll get that slide set sent out.
So those are the pressure items that I had that want to get done. Anything from anybody else?
What's the date of the next meeting?
Fourth Friday.
Fourth Friday.
Yeah, fourth Friday, of course.
I appreciate you still coming, Al.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't miss it.
Okay, anything else?
Really, I'm serious. This is a good group.
Yeah.
It's a great, just one thing I'd like to mention, I participated in a council with chat, on Hilton Head, and mostly Hilton Head people were there. We had over 70 people, believe it or not, in York. It was a big crowd. And, they're still talking about the bridge and alternatives, and we're like, no, there's no alternatives, we're done. The bridge is going where the bridge is going. But they also have a lot of concerns about traffic and affordable housing. Same thing with this group. And one person stood up and said, well, we heard that Ladies Island was gonna get a 3rd bridge. I said, no, ma'am. I don't know where you heard that rumor, but that is not true. She was kind of indignant. Well, why do they get a 3rd bridge? Why not? So.
Okay. Anything else?
Just quickly, you
Yes.
mentioned a meeting spot for next meeting. You have
Yes. Oh, yes, it's City Hall.
City Hall floor conference room, first floor.
one? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I would say really quick, today in Port Royal, we're having a rededication of the boardwalk for Henry Robinson. I know some people remember him, he passed away, he was mayor and council for over 40 years. Hurricane Helene tore the boardwalk up. We got it back fixed today. We're gonna have his family there and do a rededication at 4. So like I said, I know some of y'all served with him and remember him. So like I said, 4 o'clock today down at the Sands. Like I said, his family will be there. So if anybody's available, it's gonna be a fun thing, so.
Great.
Good. You feeding us?
Bring the fishing rod in the crowd. Exactly, yeah. The river will feed you.
Throw that cast net.
The river will provide.
Give a man a fish, right?
There you go.
May I make one quick announcement
Sure.
before we adjourn? If you don't know me, I'm Megan, I'm with the Beaufort Chamber of Commerce. Every year we host a Military Appreciation Day, so that's kind of on point with the discussion today. We are gonna hold that on May 9th, which is a Friday afternoon on Laurel Bay. And we're adding some new fun activities that hopefully will integrate all of our bases with our community members. Of course, it's open to veterans as well, so if you'd like to pencil in May 9th between 4 and 7, we'd love to have you all stop by and spend some time with us. And on a similar note, Laurel Bay, as well as a few houses on Naval Hospital property, are now managed by Hunt Military Communities, and they are open to all civilians who are looking for a really great opportunity, especially on the financial side, somewhere to rent and live. We have information about that if anybody would like it.
Do you know how many houses are?
They have just a handful on Naval Hospital property right now, but around 100 at Laurel Bay. And we're talking 2, 3-bedroom options, $1,500 with utilities.
Do they still have to go through the gate to?
Yes, you still have to go through the gate, but the original requirement for non-service members to live there was you had to be a first responder. Caroline, jump in, or
County
Ryan,
employee,
county employee. Now all of that is
civil
waived, so you'd have to pass a background check.
You do have to
Is
pass
the
that.
current criteria.
It's part of the public-private venture contract.
And then they just get a 1-year piece of paper for access.
They'll get a
They get a tag.
like a pass.
They get a face tag.
Oh,
They
they
get
do.
a more back.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, great information. Anything else?
Okay.
With that, we're adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.